So even though you're dealing with the banker and the lender, they're the originator. They key the application, they collect your documents, they tell the story to the underwriter.
Got it. Okay.
So you need them on your side, and you need them to be able to articulate exactly what's happening with your business effectively so that it can be convincing and persuasive to an underwriter.
So it sounds like you need everybody. You need the teller. You need the advisor. You need the underwriter.
Victory. Victory. Flawless. Victory. Flawless. Victory.
Hi, thank you for tuning in to the Stop Thinking Small podcast once again. Here at the Selfie Museum, we're in the shopping room, the Tiffany room, more specifically. Very excited to be here. Enough about me. We have a very special guest, Miss Tamika Stafford from U.S. Bank. We're so happy to have you here. How does it feel?
It feels amazing. Thank you for having me. I'm so looking forward to our discussion today.
Yes. So our topic today is how to market your business when seeking financial assistance from external sources. So Tamika, let's talk about you first before we get into that.
Sure.
How did you get into small business financial assistance and education? Like, why that?
Good question. Most people, when they get into the financial space, typically it's not their childhood dream that they always wanted to be a small business educator. I actually was a branch manager at a bank, and I focused specifically on consumer banking. They expanded our role to include business development, which was a learning curve for us at first, but I fell into it. I loved it. I loved seeing business owners light up when you give them solutions and provide access to capital for them. That is the best feeling in the world. And to be able to help those businesses grow and tell them the things that I know that they can then implement was just very fulfilling.
I love that. So was it something that you always felt that you wanted to do though? Like, I know everyone doesn't have that passion, but do you have a passion specifically for small businesses, or like, have you grown that over the time?
I would say the passion for small businesses has developed over time, but the desire to help others and teach people how to be self-sufficient has always been there. And to be able to do it in the small business space is even more impactful.
Okay. So, I mean, speaking of impact, as the business access advisor for U.S. Bank, what do you feel like is your biggest impact so far?
My biggest impact as a business access advisor here in Charlotte, since I've been in this role for 7 months, I'm new in this role, but not new to the game of banking.
Okay,
so let's be clear.
Yeah.
But I would say is connecting people to resources that they didn't know existed. Sometimes people think bankers are just about selling products and services, and in some cases, many of them are.
Right.
But in my case, I have the beautiful job of being able to direct them to tools that may not be with my bank. There are a lot of free resources that people just don't know are out there. And so I have the great pleasure of connecting them to them, whether it's funding, whether it is technical assistance, whether it is workforce development or ways in which they can hire more people. That is what lights me. I'm excited right now talking about it.
I knew it was going to come. I knew it. Yes,
that's
great.
What gets me really pumped about it.
Look, sign me up because I'm ready. So speaking of impact, let's talk about wins. So as a small business advisor, what would you say are 2 of your most successful wins that you've got your clients?
Super easy to answer that. One involves someone who had credit challenges. They actually had recently filed bankruptcy, and they were a bit embarrassed about that status. They had worked a W-2 job, but they had left to start their own business. Great idea, great concept, definitely sustainable, great connections.
Yeah.
But she did not have the credit that would qualify her for a loan. So what I did was I looked into my network of people to see who can I connect her with that could be a resource for her. And being that she's in the medical field and has her doctorate, I actually know someone else in my network who's in the medical field and has her doctorate, who's actually in the venture capital space. Wow. Where she focuses specifically on healthcare. Wow. And how she helps launch those businesses. And of course, with venture capital, they're not looking at things the way a bank would evaluate them. And they're looking at the sustainability of your business and the impact it's going to have in the community. And both of them were thrilled to meet each other, and they are on their journey to work toward financing for her. So that story is still being written, but right now I'm over the moon, and so is she about that.
So beautiful.
That's
beautiful.
One of them.
And I really love that as a person who works at a bank, they give you those opportunities where you can still Not, hey, you have to do it this way because we're a bank and we need to make money,
Correct.
but it's more about the impact, whether it's you as bank or another way, but it's you're still making that impact.
Correct.
Okay, that's great. What's the second one?
So
I don't know how you top that, but okay.
the second one is where we actually did give a loan. There was
Oh.
a situation where he had tried multiple lenders, right? He'd gone to his go-to lender for things. They just could not help him. And so he was actually my real estate agent. And so we always stay in touch. In fact, over the purchase and sale of a house, we stayed in touch, and he's like, hey, you're at the bank. Can you help me with this? Typically, his deal was a little hairy. He had a personal care home.
Okay.
And it was a residential home converted into a personal care home. So there was some other nuances that banks just were a little uncomfortable with,
Right.
typically. However, I try to surround myself with bankers and lenders who are going to really go to bat for my client when they see that they have a good business model, they are making revenue, and they have the potential to increase that exponentially, which was the case with him. He was able to now, his goal was to add 6 more rooms to his space so he could accommodate more residents. And she worked tooth and nail to get this deal done. And it took her about 2 months to get it done. The average banker would have given up initially. They would never have done it, which is why he'd been declined by about 4 other banks. And after I scolded him for not coming to me first, I then proceeded to help him and put him in touch with my girl, who was just phenomenal. She still is. And he, to this day, is eternally grateful for having a banker who was tenacious enough to work with him, have confidence in him, and advocate for his business. So,
wow, that is a beautiful thing, because not a lot of people are able to have that type of success story, especially when it's talking about getting funding with not the best credit. I know a lot of us have been there, and also being able to get loans as a business owner, period, but definitely as a minority business owner. But we'll get to that later. So let's go right into what banks or external investors are looking for. I'm a business owner. I walk into a bank. I'm looking for some type of financial assistance. Look, grant me, loan me, anything. Like, give me something.
right.
Like, what should I have prepared when I come into the bank so I have a better chance of maybe getting a longer conversation or a yes? Like, what do I need to have prepared?
Excellent question. And actually, the conversation or the preparation starts before you need a loan. That starts actually once you open your business account and making a relationship or forming a relationship with that banker.
Wait, I'm sorry to interrupt. Can you just repeat that one more time? Because
Sure.
I think a lot of people need to hear that.
Yeah.
When does the process begin?
When you open your bank account, which
Wow.
should be in the beginning stages once you establish your business, whether you're generating revenue or not, right? Because you need to separate those expenses, personal and business. And so once you establish that account, you need to be talking to the business banker, the person who ultimately is going to lend you money when that time comes. So therefore, once you're talking to them, you can tell them, look, this is my game plan. This is what I'm going to do. I don't have a lending need yet, but I will. They can then in turn be your advocate along the journey. They may have specials that can help you, and they can tell you those things. Now let's fast forward to the time that you do have a lending need, right? So what do you need? What do you do? Well, now that you have a relationship, Ms. Banker, Mr. Banker, whoever it is, I am ready to borrow X amount of dollars. When can I come see you? Can we do a virtual call? Can we do it over the phone? Whatever. They will make that arrangement. You have that call, you talk about it. They're going to want to know what the purpose is. So be able to clearly outline what you need the money for.
Okay.
Be able to also clearly outline how much you need. You don't want to say whatever I get approved for.
Okay.
Don't say that.
That would have been me. 50,000.
And you'd be better off coming in confidently saying, I need 50,000 and then outlining why you need it, as opposed to whatever I get approved for, because then we know that you don't really know how much you need. You don't know what you're going to do with it. You haven't done your homework. Okay. So therefore, the bank's going to want to know, what do you need it for? How much do you need? And once we have that, then we will ask, of course, okay, well then, where are your financials? And typically by financials, we're going to mean tax returns. Okay. Typically, most banks are going to require business tax returns and personal, because some of them require you to personally guarantee. It is. Now, I will say this. Okay, hidden gem, folks. Some banks will require, if the threshold is lower, let's say 25,000, they may say, I don't need financials. It's going to be just stated income. Okay. Right. In a case like that, your banker, who you have a relationship, can tell you what that looks like. as opposed to you being some random person coming in off the street that they don't know. But if you have a relationship, they'll tell you, well, I can give you $25K with just stated income and a pager application.
Wow.
But every bank is different. Not every bank has it, and every bank's threshold is different. That banker will tell you what that looks like. So if you need below that threshold, it's an easy application. It's going to be credit based. It's going to look at your personal credit. If it is more than that, they're going to want to look at those financials. And as I said, it's tax returns, business and personal, all schedules. Don't leave out the ones that don't look too attractive. We need all of them. And they may ask for a personal financial statement so they can assess what those assets look like. If you are in a time frame like now, for instance, we are in August of 2022. Well, tax returns for 2021 are good, but that's not a reflection of how your business has performed these past 7 months.
Right.
So therefore, they're going to want to see year-to-date profit and loss statements or P&Ls or income statements. You may hear them called any one of those three things. They may ask for a balance sheet to determine what your assets look like, what your liabilities look like, to see how your business has progressed from the previous year.
Okay.
So those are just some of the things from a documentation standpoint you'll want to have.
So you need to be thorough. You need to be prepared, and you need to know your business. That's kind of like what I got from that. And I guess what you're saying is your relationship with your banker, as far as your business is concerned, is extremely important from day one.
Absolutely.
You can't just like, I need a loan. Let me try to build this relationship now. Not to say that won't work,
right? But
it's better if
Absolutely.
you start from the beginning.
Absolutely. And I will add to, don't sleep on the tellers, because typically you want a relationship with the business banker, whoever that is, right? Each bank, it may look a little different. They may sit in the branch. They may very well be the branch manager. Just depends. They'll let you know who that is. You don't want to automatically bypass the bankers and bypass the tellers because you think, well, I'm in the business banking space now. So
Excuse me.
Right, exactly, right. No, I'm at the different level. No, because they can help facilitate a lot of the things that you need for the banker. So still just treat everyone with respect, which I know we would do, of course, but they can help make the transaction a lot easier for you.
Got it. Okay. And they need to know who you are. No one wants to, but it may be more difficult to get the help you need if you're walking in there, they haven't seen you, your account's been negative, all those type of things. Yeah. And you're coming in there trying to get a $75,000 loan. So speaking of thresholds, is it safe to say that the U.S. bank threshold is $25,000 for what you talked about before?
It depends. So if you're an existing client, there is a threshold of 50. And if you are not an existing client, it's 25.
Got it. Okay.
But that's not to say we're assuming credit looks great, right? If the credit is marginal, we're not going to just decline it off the bat. We'll say, this looks borderline. Let's get financials and find a way that we can approve it, right? So that way there may be some compensating factors, right? Where they have significant assets or they have something we can use as collateral potentially, or how can we get this deal done? What about if we add another guarantor? Can that strengthen the deal, right? Okay. What if they own another business? Can that be added as a guarantor to the transaction to make it stronger? We want to look at the whole picture. So therefore, don't, just in case you think that they'll never ask for it, they still might if they're trying to strengthen the deal, if that makes sense.
No, that makes perfect sense. Okay. So I have another question in relation to like challenging credit, or just I am nervous because maybe we don't have the best revenue right now. Maybe we're going through a transitionary period, or maybe the business credit is trash and my personal credit is not great. So what other ways, I know you kind of spoke about having a guarantor, but are there other ways that I can kind of navigate that or tell that story in my application, saying, hey, I know it looks like our revenue was down, but it's because we were transitioning like to this. Like, how can I explain any gaps or just credit downfalls or anything like that?
And you would do exactly what you described. Let them know, say, hey, I had a client just last week who he paid down a lot of debt. He bought some new equipment. And so naturally he had a lot of tax deductions on his credit, on his tax returns. Uh-huh. So that was great to explain why his business income was negative. But explanations are one thing, but the banks are a lot of times going to go by what you report. So if you report a loss, they're going to report and consider that a loss for that year, regardless of the reason. It's a good thing that it's a good reason, right? But in some cases, that's still not going to compensate for the negative income that's on the tax return. So the only two things that we typically add back are depreciation, because that's a non-cash event. We add back interest expense if there is a mortgage involved where you own your building. We'll also add back, let's say you have expenses as it relates to if you're leasing a building, but you're now purchasing a building. Of course, we'll take the lease out of the equation because now you're going to be purchasing one. So that mortgage payment will replace that lease expense. So the banker will try to work with you typically to help you get to where you need to be. Again, if you have a relationship with them, because what happens is a lot of times business owners don't realize banks have a centralized underwriting department. So even though you're dealing with the banker and the lender, they're the originator. They key the application, they collect your documents, they tell the story to the underwriter.
Got it. Okay.
So you need them on your side, and you need them to be able to articulate exactly what's happening with your business effectively so that it can be convincing and persuasive to an underwriter.
So it sounds like you need everybody. You need the teller. You need the advisor. You need the underwriter. You need, from the moment you walk in that door, you greet everyone and you smile. And this is over a long period of time. Not the day you need the loan. No, I'm messing with y'all.
And if I can add something to that too, though, I know in this digital age, most people don't always come in the bank like that, right? I don't come in the bank like that typically I don't go into a place unless there's a problem. I'm nice though. I'm always nice, but a lot of our business clients are like that too. They do things digitally. Their things are automated. So at least come in if you can, when you first open your account, and make regular touch points, whether it's quarterly or semi-annually. At some point, just come in and just connect and just give them an update about what's happening.
Okay.
People typically have business plans, and those evolve over time. As you evolve and make additions and revisions to whether it's your projections or any offerings you have, your executive team, whatever that looks like, share that with your banker. So that way you're top of mind for them, right? They may meet someone who's a good contact for you, like my client that's in the healthcare field. Meeting with her and hearing her pain points, but yet knowing I have somebody in my network that can help goes a long way.
Wow.
So staying in touch.
Okay, so even if you're just having just regular touch points where I may not need anything, hey, this is just what's going on.
Absolutely. They love that because there may be a solution they have to help you operate more efficiently, right? Yeah. You may not know it, but they know. They have programs that are happening during the PPP process. I know when I was at another bank, we had special loan programs that they were offering to existing clients. And it was phenomenal, actually. I think it was like deferred payments for a year. It was like $50,000, stated income, no docs.
Where was I?
It was, but again, these were people who were existing clients that had a banking relationship where their banker called them and said, hey, we have this program. Do you want in? And this was during the midst of the PPP process. And one of our clients was an accountant, Black female-owned business. And she took advantage of it, and she was so grateful for that, in addition to the PPP. So the banks can support you. You just have to work with them and find one that is your advocate. Not all banks are created equal. You got to find one that you vibe with.
I can most definitely agree with that. I won't name any names, but I have changed banks a few times. That's wonderful advice because people really do need to know that. Yeah. Like, you can't just Google and find the information that you're giving us today online. Like, you have to know someone or have that relationship with your banker. Right. And I know you said all banks aren't created equal. So tell us what's so great about US Bank.
I'll tell you the things that I love about it because I've only started working there 7 months. So the things that I love about it is that we are small but mighty in the Charlotte market right now, right? But we truly care about small business owners. We take the time with them no matter what stage you're in, whether you're pre-venture, whether you're just starting out, whether you're seasoned, mature, whatever your phase is, we can work with you along those lines. The fact that my role was created, to me, is a game changer because not all banks have a Tamika. I have 8 counterparts in 8 other cities.
But US Bank has a Tamika.
This is true.
This
is true.
We know what you mean.
There are 8 of us, though, that do exactly what I do, and my peers are equally phenomenal, and they come from different backgrounds in Chicago, Los Angeles, San Francisco, Denver, Colorado Springs, Little Rock, Arkansas, and Minneapolis. And our jobs are specifically to work with Black-owned businesses to help with networking and business development to give them access to information, connections, and capital. I don't have sales goals. I am simply a resource. So think about it. When you have a business, businesses like to have employees and FTEs that are revenue generating, right?
Right.
I don't generate revenue. I don't. I simply connect. The bank wants to do its part to connect people to resources to help them grow, help them be better, wherever we can fit that in. That to me says a lot about the bank and its intentions. It's not just talking the talk about the riding that corporate wave. You know, we all understand what that was. they're actually creating line items and departments and hiring people to help put their money where their mouth is.
I love that. And I love what you said about US Bank. And I love that you said you guys help business owners at every stage, because
Right.
sometimes it's intimidating. It's like, well, I really only made $2,000 this month for my business. I don't want to go in there and ask them for anything because they're going to send me right on out. And you're saying that at US Bank, at least, you are welcome even if you have $0 a year
Correct.
to negative 500 a year to 25 million. We're all going to claim that, but 25 million.
That's right.
That's beautiful.
But that's how many, the sheer volume of applicants we had, and the fact that we're trying to push them through. And some of the businesses, they submitted their application, but they didn't have a business account. And so the SBA wanted that information before it would even allow you to submit their application. So now we're dealing with business owners and trying to reach them in the middle of COVID. So places are closed, trying to get them to open accounts and drive-throughs and virtually.
Oh my goodness.
And that time was of the essence. The money was running out. And so if they had that set up properly the first time, it would have expedited the process for many. So
that makes complete sense. Like you said, so many like great things. You dropped about 85 billion gems already. But if you could say the top 5 priorities for a business owner when seeking financial assistance, let's talk about for a bank specifically. What would you say are those top priorities for them?
Let's see. I would say financial statements, having them prepared, whether even if you're an accountant by trade, having someone else do them, right? You spend time in revenue generating activities, let them do it. That way you have a second pair of eyes looking at it. So that your tax returns, your profit and loss statement, balance sheet, cash flow statement is helpful if you do accept cash. So financial statements is number 1. I would say, of course, having your bank accounts. It can be multiple. It doesn't matter if they're multiple, but having them separate from your personal expenses. We don't want to have to wade through the expenses and you tell us, oh no, that was a personal expense.
So cheeseburger.
That's problematic. Making sure your credit is on point. And if there are issues, be forthcoming, because we're going to find out. And even be forthcoming throughout the whole transaction, right? Because even if you think, well, I'm not going to say, things sometimes have a way of being revealed. And then that erodes the trust.
Right.
And if you're dealing with someone that's extending credit, the trust is critical. So making sure you're truthful and honest and forthcoming with things that matter. Now, I give you a perfect example of something that may not to digress just a second, but one of my clients was, he had been in the justice system. He had been there for several years. He came out and he started a business. And so he was doing a phenomenal job in his business, and he wanted to get a loan from the bank. Well, he felt that he had to tell us he'd been in jail, which technically I didn't need to know that. He'd been in business for several years. His credit was fine. His income was doing well. I didn't need to know that. And it was embarrassing for him, but I think he was relieved to find that I did not hold that against him. I didn't judge him. And we extended multiple loans to him over the course of time. But certain things like that, we didn't have to know. Now, if he had just come out of jail and then had no credit, now that would be an explanation as to why he has no credit.
But he was already kind of smooth sailing.
He was smooth sailing, so he didn't have to tell us that. But I appreciated the candor. So being truthful and honest. I would say another would be updating the business plan. If you're less than 2 years in, the bank may ask for that. SBA may ask for that, right? Having the business plan updated.
But they may not ask for it if you're like been in business 10 years or something like that.
Right. They won't. They won't ask for it. So let's see. We have the business plan. We have being open and honest. We have having separate bank accounts. We have the financial statements. And number 5 would be what we alluded to earlier, is that relationship, making sure that when you come in, they already know who you are. Hi, Lisa, it's good to see you again. Are you trying to do that loan now? Are you ready? Is now the time for us to go ahead and pull the trigger on that? Having that relationship is going to go a long way in being successful, because even if that bank is going to, for whatever reason, they have to decline it for whatever reason, they don't try to decline, they'll try to counteroffer. If they can't give you what you asked for, they'll say, well, we can't do 50, but we can do 35. Or if they can't do 35, they'll say, look, we can't help with this right now, and this is why. But here is a backup plan that we have that might be able to help you. And that's one thing I would like to add that US Bank does that I love, and this is the first time I've seen this happen successfully. we have a partnership with an organization called Connect to Capital,
Okay.
where what they are is it's a coalition, a marketplace, if you will, of lenders that are mission based, right? They care more about the business being successful, and they don't quite look at things in the same strict parameters that a traditional bank would. And so if we do have to decline a loan, we can then refer you to that marketplace where they then can look at your loan and see what they can do to help and find a lender that is going to be good for you. Or if they're connected to the community, they will contact someone that they know in their network already. I'm doing that right now with another client. She wants to apply for a loan with us. I know that we've already tried and it's already been declined. And the reason it's been declined is through the credit model that we pull and what her situation was. But I'm close with a CDFI that's local. And I called her up and I said, Kimberly, she's with Bevcorp. I said, Kimberly, I have this client that she would be a great fit. I think she is, her business model is great. This was the only challenge that we had potentially. Is this something you'd be interested in? She said, absolutely, all day long. So we made the connection. They spoke this week. And so they're on their way. And so the relationship helps because she would have had to contact them cold and out of the blue. And that's not to say they wouldn't have helped her, but would she have been helped this quickly?
Yes. Okay. That's beautiful. Those are great priorities. We're going to play a little game.
Okay.
So this is a game we play on every show, and it's called This or That. Coffee or tea? Coffee?
Love
okay.
Coffee.
Okay, well, there's like a favorite kind. If I'm making your coffee for you, what's like the exact one that you get?
Illy. ILLY.
Okay.
The best coffee ever.
All right. Did you have that today?
I did.
Okay. She's serious about that. Okay. Rihanna or Beyonce?
Oh, Rihanna.
Me too.
Bad girl, Riri. Love her.
Oh my goodness. I was trying to figure out if we were made. I really need to go to US Bank now because a lot of people say Beyonce, not anti-Beyonce, but I'm very, very pro Rihanna.
Agreed.
Oh my goodness. I'm about to pass out. I love it. Okay. Spring or fall?
Fall.
I'm a fall baby.
Oh, the trees came, leaves, apples, muscadine.
Someone had to have given her these questions beforehand
because
totally
she's
just
love
like
fall.
answered me
It's
too.
cooler.
Okay. New York or LA?
New York. Oh, I'm a Brooklyn girl, so that is going to be my answer all day long.
I just moved from New York, so she's just knocking them all down. Okay. All right. This one's funny. Lip gloss or lipstick?
Lip gloss.
Lip gloss.
I am a lip gloss girl because I just like a little moisture, and I don't. I drink coffee. I drink water. I'm drinking all day, and so I just don't like lipstick on my cups.
Okay. No. I'm a lip gloss girl too.
But I love it.
It's just simple. It's easy, and like for me, I have a difficult time picking out the perfect lipstick shade. And I get tired of wearing the same one all the time. So you know what? I'm just gonna put the gloss on.
But it's natural. The natural girl look. I love it too. So
I love that. Okay. 2 more. Surprise birthday party or surprise birthday trip?
This is where I'm gonna be a party pooper. I don't even celebrate birthdays.
Ooh, okay.
So if it was any kind of thing, would I want a party or a trip? I'm all experience. All about experiences.
Okay, where are you going on this birthday trip?
Anywhere there is water, and it's got to be blue. I like the Gulf. I love out in I love the Mediterranean actually. So I haven't been to Australia yet. So that's on my list.
That's on your list. So this last question might get her in trouble. You don't have to answer it. You can say a no. I will not answer this.
Okay.
So, trick question: U.S. Bank or Truist Bank?
I would have to say U.S. Bank because that's where I work.
Well, duh.
And also, they sign my checks theoretically, right? Even though I've not seen a check in years. But also, I'm proud of what they're doing, what they're trying to accomplish. Things are still, of course, like no place is perfect, right? We're making some strides as it comes to closing the racial wealth gap, but they're willing to be accountable for that. Okay. They post their numbers, they post what they're doing, they post where they've been and where they're going. Transparency is key. If you really want to be held accountable and show people, look, I know we may not be exactly where we need to be, but we're working towards it to get better, and you can watch us as we grow. That means a lot to me.
She just perfectly segued us into our next question. Let's talk about trust and transparency. So this is not a secret. A lot of minorities, business owners or not, but let's talk about business owners, have that lack of trust with banks just because of different histories or being denied loans or just being judged, So how do you what do you suggest people can do to overcome that like fear, or like what are banks doing to US Bank? What are you guys doing to help minority business owners get over that and like build that trust with you?
Yeah, no, that's a great question. I think I'll speak to what the bank is doing, and I'll speak to also what consumers and business owners can do. The bank is trying to make sure that they staff their branches and have folks that are representative of the community that they are in, right? Because you want to go in and see someone that looks like you, right? That's helpful. If you speak another language, especially if there's a predominant community that is speaking another language, Spanish, Tagalog, I mean, I don't know, there are so many other languages. You need someone in there that is versed in your language to feel welcomed. That goes a long way. Also the outreach, making sure that you're out in the community, you're meeting people where they are, answering their questions. So that means being out in the heat in the summertime. And I know I'm not a summertime heat girl, but I've been out there at events in the heat because that's where the people are, right? So being out there where they are, answering their questions, allaying their fears, and then inviting them to the bank, or inviting them to bank how they want to, whether that's digitally, whether that's virtually, whether that's in person. And that goes a long way. Now, as far as what consumers or business owners can do is, I would say, interview your banker. Interview them. Think of it like a date, right?
Before you decide to bank with them.
Exactly. Okay. Before you decide to bank with them, interview them. This is a date. We're not getting married yet. This is a date, right? You're dating them. You want to see what they bring to the table. How are they going to help you? What are they offering you? What are they going to do? How are they going to, this is what you're dealing with. How can they provide assistance? And will they acknowledge you? And you can be your own secret shopper. Go into a bank and just see how you're treated. Are you ignored? Are you valued?
And a lot of people don't think of it like that, because it's more like you feel like, oh, I hope they open this bank account for me, but you should think about it in reverse. They are honored for me to be a client for them. And if they're going to treat me correct, then I'll bank with them. But if not, I'm going to take my business elsewhere. That's a great way to think about it.
One thing I will add to that, though, is nobody is perfect, right? So we have to extend some grace in case, let's say today they're short staffed, and you can tell when there's like two people there and it looks like the place is like a madhouse.
Right.
Extend some grace, right? Because we all have been there, even as business owners, where things that happened outside of our control that may impact the client experience. Make sure that's the exception and not the norm, though. If you find that every time you go, there's always things are on fire, there's a problem. But if it's once in a blue moon, I mean, extend grace and make sure that it's not the pattern.
This has been a wonderful conversation with you today.
I enjoyed it too.
The last question is, if you could leave small business owners with just one piece of advice via US Bank, what would you say? I
would say to one piece. Okay, I got to narrow it down to one. Build your network. Have a solid network around you, your own personal board of directors, if you will, that can help you grow your business, right? So whether it's someone who's you need a CPA anyway, right? Who's going to help you with your finances and those financial statements we referenced. If you have someone who's in the legal space that can help you evaluate those contracts, right? Because even when we talk about lease agreements, people think, well, it's just a lease agreement. You better read that. And you better have someone who's versed in legal jargon to help you with that. Because they're not written with you in mind. They're written to protect the owner. Having someone who is on your team that understands, fills in the gaps for your weaknesses, right? Let's say that you're more shy and you're more passive, but yet there's a friend of yours that is really a go-getter. They're really assertive, and they can be a negotiator. Hang on to them a little bit to learn some skill sets from them and see how they do things, what they do, so they can help you in your journey. Another would be people who can connect you to other people, who's the networker in a room. If you go to a room and you find that you're shy and you're the wallflower, find someone who has no fear, and they're bold and fearless when it comes to those events, because they can help connect you to other people. But as they say, we can go fast alone, but we can go further together. And if you have people surrounding you that can help you, their network is your network, right? Because if they know bankers, they know lenders, they know potential clients, potential employees, potential investors. Again, having those people strategically around you that will breathe life into your business, not drain it and suck the life away, or be negative Nancy's.
Suck you just down.
Now, when I say negative Nancy's, I don't mean people who keep it real.
Right.
Don't be in the echo chamber where you just want to hear what you want to hear. If there's really a valid advice that they're giving you where you may need to change some things up, you need that trusted friend, mentor that can tell you this is great, but you need to look at this.
Right.
So those are some of the things I would say, because when you have the right network, then the sky's the limit.
Tamika, it has been wonderful. Once again, we are here with Tamika Stafford from US Bank. If you guys are in Charlotte and you're looking for a resource or a new bank, this is your woman here. She is wonderful.
Aww.
US Bank does have different bank what do you call them?
Branches?
Branches. Okay.
We do.
Slipped my mind. You guys have branches outside of Charlotte. Where are the other branches again?
We are actually headquartered in Minneapolis, Minnesota.
Okay.
We're the 5th largest bank in the United States. And we are more so on the West Coast.
Okay.
So we are like mushrooms out there. We are expanding into the Charlotte market. We have 3 branches here currently. We are opening 3 more within the next 6 months. So, and if I may just share briefly, so we have Pineville, South Tryon, across from McCormick and Schmidt. We have Blakeney. We're opening one in Huntersville, South Park, and in University.
They're moving right along.
So no, this is going to be great. And one thing I have to add, just to as an addendum to something I said earlier when we talked about loans that don't require financials, one thing I was remiss in mentioning is equipment finance. That is actually we are like the kings and queens of equipment finance. Up to $150,000.
Oh, wow.
150, like 150, and that 3 more zeros of that application only.
Wow.
No financials, but it's got to be some type of equipment or a vehicle or something like that. But call me, email me, message me, connect with me on LinkedIn. I'm on Instagram as well, and I'm happy to navigate people to that.
Okay, so LinkedIn,
Instagram.
That's where you can find Miss Tamika. Thank you guys so much for tuning in to today's episode. I invite you to subscribe to our channel, Stop Thinking Small. Your brand vision today. We look forward to seeing you guys. Thanks again.